Right, hi guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One. Wow, is all I can say to that. Who would have ever predicted a podium like that? Let alone one of those drivers being on the podium. All of them, all their second podiums of their careers, and a maiden victory for Pierre Gasly. What an unbelievable race. Monza often provides excitement, and it certainly did this weekend. And as you can see, I'm wearing the Williams shirt as a special tribute to Claire and Frank Williams, their last ever race as a family-run team, sadly, before it gets taken over by a consortium of bellends like Racing Point did. And yeah, thank you so much, Williams, for everything you've given the sport and the championships and the countless race wins and podiums and the excitement, and bringing a lot of British talent through as well. Most notably George Russell as well, of course, now in the team and given his chance with Williams. So a massive thank you for everything Williams have done, and let's hope the legacy continues. The Williams name, without Williams behind it though, it's not going to be the same, is it? But thank you nonetheless. So of course, as always, if you've never seen this series before, I score the drivers based on their race performance. 10 for the maximum, 0 if you've done really badly, and I can award bonus points if you've done particularly well. There's going to be a few of them, and minus points if you've done particularly badly. Going to be a few of them as well. So here we go. We're going to kick things off with the winner, Pierre Gasly. An unbelievable race, a fantastic race. Opportunistic pit stop by AlphaTauri to get that car in prior to the safety car coming out, and of course the pit lane entrance being shut. That really helped him. And then when the red flag came, helped him even more because they could put some more fresh tyres on like most of the other grids did. And yeah, it just meant then that they could control the race from P2. Hamilton came in for his penalty and he was first. And yeah, had to withstand some pressure from behind, of course, on that dying lap of Carlos Sainz. And he held it off, and a fantastic. Do you know what? I was nearly in tears for a number of reasons when that flag fell. You know, Williams' last race as a family-run team, Gasly win, Sainz another podium, Racing Point I was even proud of as well, and really, you know, their first podium as a new team. You know, from the depths of what Force India was, it was really good to see actually. As much as I don't necessarily agree with it all, but for Pierre Gasly and the AlphaTauri team, an unbelievable dream result for them, and I've been saying how my guy of the season has been Pierre Gasly. He's shown some impressive performances just to break through into the points in certain times, and this time he's going to deliver the win, and it was a team effort just as much as his effort as well. Perfect strategy and a perfect race by Pierre, and I'm awarding him some massive bonus points. And he's going to get 20. He's getting 20 points on the Crawl Room, the highest score I've ever scored anyone in this series. And yeah, a fantastic effort. I'm really chuffed for him, and he deserves 20 points. And it really helps me score the other drivers as well. Because if I was just giving them all 10, then you know, I think Gasly needs to be put on a special pedestal there and being like, look, the amount of shit you've gone through in your career so far, you deserve it, pal. So 20 points to Pierre Gasly. And then we come to, as mentioned, Carlos Sainz. Hurry in the back of that AlphaTauri on the last lap or so, but wasn't enough. 4 tenths behind in the end, and one more lap he'd have done it, but it wasn't to be. And that is racing. And for Carlos Sainz and the McLaren team to go into this race and be disappointed with P2 is unbelievable. Because let's not forget, Sainz was just behind Hamilton the entire race before the safety car period and the red flag. So if Hamilton had his stop-go, they'd have been thinking they could have been leading, but the way that Gasly just jumped him was amazing. And of course he had the Raikkonen Alfa Romeo to battle with as well, and that just let Gasly get that gap, and an unbelievable result for Carlos Sainz and the McLaren team. And yeah, well done. That's all I can say. I'm a bit lost for words, to be honest with you, because a podium like that never happens, rarely happens. And for none of the big, you know, for neither Red Bull or Mercedes not to be on the podium. When was the last time that happened? Let me know. Let me know when was the last time that happened, because that's been a long time. So yeah, for Carlos Sainz is going to be a whopping 15 points for him. A spectacular drive and deserved the P2 on merit this weekend, which is surprising to say, but his start was electric, his race was fantastic, and to be disappointed with P2 just proves to you how much pace they had this weekend in the McLaren. So congratulations to Carlos Sainz, a solid 15 points there. And then we come to Lance Stroll, of course, in the Racing Point. As mentioned, I'm happy for him. I really am genuinely happy for him because it's so nice to see after this year of so much turmoil, especially around the Racing Point with the whole illegal brake duct situation and the 15 points docked. And, you know, even I felt sorry for him because I was like, you're just being nitpicky and shit now. Yeah, you might have cheated, but I don't believe they cheated with the intentions of cheating, if that makes sense. I just think they misinterpreted the rules, and everyone, like Renault, was trying to get down the throat and like, yeah, let's get them chucked out. And I thought, I can't be doing the cancel culture at the best of times. Then to try and get rid of a team off a grid, I thought it would bang out of order. So I've kind of lightened up a bit with Racing Point these days, and Lance Stroll has driven pretty much faultlessly this year. He's had a couple of off races, but for the most part, been solid. And yeah, deserved the podium today without a doubt. And it kind of falls into the category of, did he really deserve it, or did he look into it? And he looked into it without a doubt, but I think he was still outperforming Perez anyway, and he was still going to get in the top 5 just with pace alone on the car. So, you know, he did look into it in some respects by not having to have a pit stop and changing the tyres during the red flag, without a doubt. But he's racing. This is what it's all built up on. It's all built up on luck and chance. You can have the best car in the world, you can have the best strategy in the world, but you can't win every race. And Mercedes proved that this weekend, and Racing Point, it just fell into the palm of their hands, and sometimes it hasn't. You know, it's gone away from them at certain situations. This time, landed right in their lap, and they were there to take the opportunity. Stroll a little bit disappointed that he didn't pick up the win, which again he could have done, but he fluffed the restart. And overall, P3. But again, he was happy with P3. I'm happy with P3 for them. And unbelievable result. So for that reason, I'm awarding Lance Stroll 12 points. And then we come to the first car just outside the points, and it's Lando Norris. And P4, you'd think fantastic. P2 and P4 for McLaren, unbelievable. They could have been first and second. This is the whole craziness of the situation. Gasly making that stop prior to the safety car, and then Stroll not having to pit at all, put them well up the order, and it meant that McLaren was on the back foot, you know, and they'd not done anything wrong. They'd not done anything wrong at all, and they ended up on the back foot ever so slightly, and they could have had a double podium, and they could have potentially got a 1-2 today, had it not been for those two little pesky cars benefiting at the right time. And fair play to McLaren, absolutely unbelievable. And for Lando Norris to pick up P4, yeah, understandably he's a little bit disappointed, but the drive overall, especially that start where he rocketed up the inside of Bottas and got him, he's like, get out of the way. Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, for Lando Norris, a really, really solid drive. Not quite the measure of his teammate all weekend, but still a solid 10 points is deserved for Lando Norris. Without a doubt, he earned that. He really did earn that. So congratulations to Lando, 10 points on the board, buddy. Well done to you. And then we come to Valtteri Bottas, and this is something I've not done on the series before, which is I've undisqualified a driver. You may remember that I disqualified him last race weekend for being pathetic and the team bitch. Well, this weekend I decided I'm going to undisqualify him because I wanted to give him some minus points. I just couldn't not talk about him and just not give him any mention, because that was a special effort this weekend by Bottas, having the best car on the grid, and was down, languishing in 6th, 7th, whatever, and we ended up recovering to 5th. Bravo. Bravo, Bottas. That was pathetic. That was pathetic. So, congratulations to Valtteri Bottas for that, and I'm going to award him minus 6,000 points. I just wanted to do it, really. I just thought, you know what, minus 6,000 points, undisqualified him. So he has the ability to claw back those minus 6,000 points that he's on now during the remainder of the season, because I've undisqualified him. So, you know, I'm not being biased, but it's worth mentioning. You know, that was just crap. That was pathetic. That was unbelievably bad. And yeah, a lot of drivers have proved themselves this race and this season that they deserve a spot in that Mercedes seat. But no, we'll keep signing bitch. Bitch boy will keep delivering. And he didn't deliver this weekend, did he? So pathetic effort, Valtteri Bottas. And yeah, minus 6,000. But you are undisqualified, so take that as a bonus. And then we come to Daniel Ricciardo after qualifying P7, finishing P6, most normally for a Renault. You'd think fantastic result. But just a little bit of a shame that we're never really able to capitalise fully on the exploits of the safety car and the red flag, and pretty much stayed where they started. So a solid enough effort and nothing really special. And yeah, again, a fantastic effort by Ricciardo to get the measure of his teammate once again. And racing well. He kept Hamilton at bay at the end there, so, you know, he did a good job in that sense. And, yeah, worthy effort by Daniel Ricciardo. Just a shame he didn't claw up a few more places. And, yeah, for that reason, I was kind of hoping he'd get ahead of Bottas. He was nuzzling him at the one stage, but just never quite fully got round. The Renault engine not providing enough power. But I really wanted to see him get ahead of Bottas, and for that reason, I'm probably going to be a little bit harsh, just a shade harsh on him here. But it's the cruel room, and I need to get cruel at some point and score people fairly. So for Daniel Ricciardo, I'm going to award him 7 points. I think had he got past Bottas, I'd have certainly been looking at the 8 or 9 score, but he just wasn't able to deliver. And people are going to say, yeah, but it's a Mercedes and he's in a Renault. Look how bad Bottas was doing this weekend. I think a Minardi could have driven around him at that stage because he was that bad. So for that reason, it's 7 points. In most notable circumstances, finishing in between 2 Mercedes cars would have been, wow, fantastic. But he was sandwiched and he really should have been ahead of both of them. So, yeah, 7 points to Daniel Ricciardo, but a worthy effort there. And then we come to Hamilton. I'm going to cry like a baby because I don't ever get penalties, and now I've got one. Hamilton. And what can we say about him? It was all going so well. 10 seconds up the road, a second a lap gaining on sides, had it easy. And then we called a bullshit safety car for that Haas, didn't we? That bullshit safety car. Unbelievable. I think they tried to do it to spice the race up a bit, because they could have just pushed it back. Magnussen parked that Haas in a safe place and they could have just pushed it back. But no, we had to have a safety car. And I think the FIA were trying to cause a little bit of drama, maybe in the midfield, with the safety car, because it was getting a bit dull. And instead ended up ruining Hamilton's race. And you knew they'd ruined Hamilton's race because they managed to give Giovinazzi a penalty within 12 seconds of doing the same thing. But Hamilton, we had to bicker and we had to argue about it, and we had to get out of the car and have a paddy. We had to go on a scooter and go, oh guys, scoot me, guys, I'm scooting all the way up to the steward's office because that's how annoyed I am. And he scooted his way on up, got told to fuck off, and scooted his way on back down again. And it's that I don't like about him. I don't like it. Giovinazzi just sat in his car and probably, I mean, he probably didn't take it like a champ, because I'm sure he'd have been annoyed by it, but he did the same thing. Alpha weren't kicking off, were they? But Mercedes were kicking off like bitches because they've never been in a situation before where they might not win a fucking race. And it just annoys me. It annoys me so much that, like, oh, God, it's not fair. It's us. We're Mercedes. We'll pull out. Well, good, that's what we want. Get fucking rid. Get out. Because you're just... Without you in this race, it went amazingly, didn't it? So get rid if you're going to whinge. Get rid. If you can't hack it and you can't see that there's red X's telling you that there's a pit lane closed and you're driving it anyway, and the team on that fucking big Pratt perch on there, you've got 14,000 tellies, all you're telling them that the pit lane's closed, you didn't pass it on to Lewis, did you? So your fault. 10-second stop-go was deserved. So calm your tits. But for the sheer arrogance of Lewis Hamilton thinking he's got a right to go scooting up to his to the stewards and having a whinge at them, and having a scoot over to his Pratt perch and having a whinge at them, and I can't be doing with it. Yeah, you're going to lose a race, well done, but you've won how many and you're still going to win championships, so what are you crying about? You've made a mistake, admit your mistake, stop crying like a bitch. So it's -10 for Lewis Hamilton for that. And I can't be doing with it. Although I were laughing at the time because I was like, ha ha, you're not winning. And 2, oh, you're having a paddy and dummy's out. What a shame. So -10 for Lewis Hamilton. Then we come to Esteban Ocon. An okay race. Qualified 12th. Out-qualified by Ricciardo, of course, who got inside the top 10 shootout. And finished in 8th place. Yeah, an okay race, a good race. Again, I'd like to see him maybe keep ahead of Hamilton, because Hamilton was struggling to get through the pack. He did a good job at it, but he struggled to get through at times. And, you know, he held him off, but I would have liked to have just seen him finish ahead of that. So, you know, it's difficult to judge the Renaults because they were the only cars, really, that never fully benefited one way or another from the red flag safety car period. They just kind of stayed where they were. But Ocon climbing from 12th to 8th to get a double points finish for Renault in a race where Ferrari didn't score, so I think they're going to be ahead of Ferrari now if they weren't already. I know there was one team that was really close. A massive congratulations to them, and it's points well needed. So Esteban Ocon, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but I'm also going to award him 7 points. He had a solid drive, but I think he scored the same as Ricciardo because I think they both did an equal job this weekend. Wasn't anything special, wasn't anything spectacular, didn't benefit from anything, but just drove solidly and just got points. So 7 points for Esteban Ocon. And then we come to Danny Kvyat, and while his teammates winning the race, Kvyat's down in P9. And it's a difficult one to judge with these two cars coming up because I'm sure they lost out during that pit stop. I'm not sure what happened to Kvyat, but I think he had a slow stop. And the same goes for Perez, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. But overall, he scored some points. This is AlphaTauri's first double points finish of the season, so that has to be commended. And any other weekend, Gasly would have probably finished 8th, Kvyat 9th, and you think, brilliant, job done, lads. But you've got Gasly up there winning the race. Did benefit from the safety car period. Without that, it probably would have been down in 8th or 9th. But Kvyat, just a little bit lacklustre. He was running in 11th place, was Kvyat. He was on the hard tyres as well. And the elected to stop Gasly ahead of him, which is what benefited him initially, to get some clear air. And then unfortunately from there it just all unravelled. So it was a bit of a difficult one to judge where he was, but he was always inside the top 10 and he was always going to get points this weekend, I feel, regardless of the penalties ahead, because obviously Giovinazzi would have never been up there in that situation and Hamilton would have never got a penalty. So the points were there for the taking this weekend for him, and he made the best of that. But yeah, when your teammate's winning a race and you're down in P9, it doesn't look sparkling on the results sheet, even though it doesn't tell the full picture. So for that reason, I'm going to award Danny Kvyat 6 points. I think he drove well. It was a solid effort, but out-qualified by his teammate. And his teammate really took the limelight away from him this weekend. But I'm not trying to take anything away by the 6 points from Kvyat. I'm just trying to show how much the win means to the AlphaTauri team. So, a fantastic effort by Kvyat. First double points finish for AlphaTauri. 9th place any other day, I'd probably give you 8 points. But this time, it's just 6. But fantastic for Danny Kvyat. Well done, you. And then we come to the last of the point scorers, which is Sergio Perez picking up 1 solitary World Championship point. And he was on the back foot, really, wasn't he? All race, to be honest with you. Stroll seemed to have the measure of him throughout most of it. And then in that pit stop gaggle, what happened in there? I'm not too sure. I think he did lose out in that because he was initially behind Norris, wasn't he? So he was in 5th at one stage, which was really good. And then as he pitted, he was behind Norris, but then he just seemed to lose everything and tumbled really far down the order. And to my knowledge, and I was watching the whole race, I didn't see anything where that could have gone wrong. So I only imagine it was in the pit stop, he had a slow stop, or had to wait for the traffic to go through because they couldn't release him, otherwise it would have been an unsafe release. But then from there, it never really picked up for him, unfortunately. He started down in that sort of area, wasn't it, when he restarted the race? I think it was 10th. He made a couple of passes, obviously Raikkonen, he got past when he was tumbling down the order and it looked like he was going to pick up a couple of points. Kvyat got the measure of him and then Hamilton slipped through and that was it. It was down to P10 and picking up just 1 point. Teammate on the podium. So again, it was all this pendulum swing of the pit stops and not pitting and things like that, and I get that. But Perez to be P10 in a racing point, bit of a shame. Bit of a shame when there were a couple of cars ahead there that you could have maybe picked off, you know. So in any other normal day you could have done. So a strange one there and a bit of a shame. So for that reason I'm just going to award Sergio Perez 5 points. Middle of the road 5. Mainly because it was a poor race by him, and if I'd have known fully why it was a poor race I could have given him slightly more or slightly less. But I think middle of the road is 5 is fair. Of course, we had so many things going on this weekend. I might have missed a couple of things as to why he was down there, and maybe not his fault. So middle of the road 5 is fair, keeps him point scoring, and hopefully I can maybe address the situation in later races. If he has a particularly good one, I can give him some more bonus points or something. And yeah, 5 points, middle of the road for Sergio Perez. And then we come to Nicholas Latifi. Once again, a P11 for the second time this season, just missing out on points during Williams' final race. And what can be said for Nick? He had an early pit stop. He had a lot earlier pit stop than Gasly. He pitted really early, but the safety car period and the red flag period both stood him all the way up to 7th at one stage. And he just gradually tumbled down the order. And he did fall as low as 13th at one point, I believe, and then just picked his way off and ended up getting past the likes of Raikkonen who was out on dying soft tyres at the end there. And finished P11. I was kind of hoping there were going to be a retirement ahead. Probably Bottas, because I really got fed up with him. But he didn't, because I really wanted Williams in their final race as a family to score a point. But sadly not to be, but 11th place is commendable. And I was just about, last weekend I was saying that he's not really impressing me. This weekend he did. He did impress me because he finished ahead of Russell on merit, finished ahead of a few cars on merit, and did a solid job, did a fantastic job. So, Nicholas Latifi, well done to you. I'm going to award you a full 10 points this weekend. That was good. In the qualifying, he was 19th and 20th. He was 20th. Obviously, Russell was 19th. So, a bit of a shame in that sense. But in the race, brilliant. Brilliant race. A great strategy by Williams as well. Points were always going to be a bit of a stretch, but we nearly got there, didn't we? We nearly got there. So, congratulations, Nick. A lot more cars finished this time around when you did score P11 compared to last time. So, 10 points is fully deserved. Well done, Nicholas Latifi. And then we come to Romain Grosjean, a lonely race for the Haas drivers. I think the only drama we really saw of Grosjean was when Albon cut across him and caused a bit of floor damage to Albon's car and a bit of wing damage to Grosjean's. So, yeah, an okay race again by the Haas. P12 and any other normal race would have been okay, but maybe, just maybe, it could have benefited had the Haas worked a strategy out, but they didn't, and it didn't pay off this time around. So maybe a Hungary could have been possible, where K-Mag picked up a couple of points, but wasn't to be. P12 was more than acceptable. I wasn't even expecting him to get ahead of Raikkonen, to be honest with you, especially when Raikkonen restarted the race up in P2 there. For Romain Grosjean, it's a bit of a shame that I never really saw much of him. I think he did a solid enough race. We didn't see him, which is always good, because that means he's normally off in a wall or a barrier or spinning when he is on telly. So, in that sense, a lonely race is a good race by Grosjean standards, and for that reason I'm going to award him 6 points. It was nothing special this weekend from the Haasers. Got out qualified by his teammate who managed to scrape into Q2, and in the race was running around okay, never benefited from anything, and points, he never ran in them and never scored any. So 6 points is fair, I think, for Romain Grosjean. And as mentioned, after Romain Grosjean is Kimi Raikkonen, and P13 finish. You'd be thinking, that's an okay result for Alpha. Not this weekend. He was up there. He was up there in P2 at one stage, and just sadly tumbled down the order. The Alfa Romeo team electing to pit him on the softs after the red flag period, so they put him on the soft tyres for a fresh choice, free pit stop. And yeah, didn't work out, did it? Let's say the least. For the most part, Sainz kept behind him for a few laps, and they were like, Sainz, just take it easy, you don't need to overtake him. And he's like, no, but I want the win, so I'm going past him. And he did it to great effect round the outside. And then it was like a position every lap then, wasn't it, for the next few laps for Kimi, unfortunately. And in the end, tumbled down to P11, which was the last we saw of him. And then, of course, at the end there, once he tumbled down to P11, that was the last we saw of him outside the points. And obviously, Latifi got the measure of him, as did, obviously, Romain Grosjean there at the end. And yeah, sad way, really. I was expecting Alfa Romeo to maybe score some points there. I was thinking, maybe a 9th or 10th might be possible. Sadly, wasn't to be. So, Kimi, you did a great job. And you know what? I think you were shafted today. I'm gonna give him 8 points this weekend, and people are going to be thinking that's far too high. But hear me out on this. I do like Kimi, so probably a little bit of biasness here, but he was running round 12th on merit prior to K-Mag's breakdown. That was 12th on merit, and every car was going apart from Vettel. So, who he was ahead of? He was ahead of the 2 Ferraris on pace when there was no safety cars, no problems, no issues. He was ahead on merit of 2 Ferraris. Then Vettel retired, still ahead. Then K-Mag retired, and that's where his race really unfolded, which is a surprise to say when he's running as high as P2, but I think putting him on the soft tyres was a mistake. And I think realistically, had it been a normal race and he'd kept on going, maybe he'd have finished P12 a position better than what he has done today, or maybe he could have scraped a point. So I'm laying the blame more with the team this weekend. Where other teams capitalised, the Alfa Romeo team certainly didn't, although initially it looked like they had. I think they put him on the wrong choice of tyres there on the softs for the end. 20 odd laps on a soft tyre on not a hard wearing circuit is okay, but when everyone else is on mediums or hards, they're a lot more durable. So, yeah, the pace wasn't there. Kimi Raikkonen, a solid race though, and I'm taking more into account what happened before the safety car period, where he was running a solid race. So, yeah, 8 points for Kimi Raikkonen. And then we come to George Russell, and yeah, a race really that Latifi got him, didn't he? Latifi had the benefit of the safety car, and again, it's going to be talked about a lot, isn't it, this safety car window and period. But yeah, fantastic drive by Latifi to get that P11, and George just didn't really seem to have the pace, you know, as we saw. Raikkonen was dying there at the latter stages, wasn't able to get the better of him. Finished behind Grosjean in the Haas as well, of course, which is a shame, because Grosjean restarted that race down in 17th place when the race got going again after the red flag, so Grosjean got him somewhere, and they all had free tyres after that red flag period. So George wasn't a good race. He out-qualified Latifi, but was still 19th this weekend, and then in the race, that was that. It was a shame, really, to see for Russell. He didn't really deliver that much and ultimately finished behind Latifi by a couple of positions. So, yeah, a shame and a bit of a strange one for Russell. I was more focused on Latifi scoring points, I must admit, this weekend. When I saw him in 11th, I was like, come on, Nick, come on, you can do it. But sadly wasn't to be. So, yeah, George Russell, an unusual one. Outraced and certainly outperformed by Latifi this weekend. Strategy had a part to play, as always, as I mentioned, but I think he finished behind a couple of cars he should have really finished ahead of. So for that reason, it's just going to be 6 points to George Russell. And then we come to the curious case of Alexander Albon. And yeah, do you know what? I'm feeling really philosophical about the whole thing, to be honest with you. I do think it's just a great shame. I do think it's a shame because he's a nice lad, and I really don't want him to go the way that Gasly did. As much as Gasly, it's benefited him dropping him from the Red Bull program down to AlphaTauri. If Albon gets dropped, I can't see him ever going back, and I think his Formula 1 career will be incredibly short-lived. It was a mess today. It was a mess this weekend, really, for him, only qualifying 9th. He tumbled down the order at the start, just like his teammate did. And then in the race, a silly mistake, squeezing Grosjean, got him a 5-second time penalty and a lot of floor damage. And he was never running round in the points ever again from the start, to be honest with you. So, yeah, a car that's capable of being on, you know, scoring solid points most weekends and delivering podiums, and he's doing things like that. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. And yeah, I know this rule is a cruel room at times, but it's got to be with an urge of sympathy this weekend for Albon, because he's going to be feeling dejected. He really is going to be feeling disappointed with himself. Red Bull are going to be disappointed with him. And it's another case of what could have been, couldn't it? But unfortunately, his whole race unravelled within the first couple of laps. And had he not done that, had he not been that silly, we could have maybe seen a special result from him this weekend. So I'm going to award Alex Albon just 2 points this weekend, and I hope Red Bull do keep him on, as much as that may sound silly, because I don't want him to go just yet. I think he needs to finish the season out, and then we need to assess the situation. But I know people are saying, you know, he's had enough chances and things like that, and to be fair, he has in some respects now. But yeah, two points to Albon, and yeah, I just feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest. And then we come to Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian stallion at his own Grand Prix, and yeah, he went through the pit lane when he shouldn't have done, didn't he, as well? But he didn't kick off loud about it, did he? Didn't have a cry. He made the mistake and just sat in his car and got on with it. He elected to serve his stop-go penalty on the third lap when he had to serve it, of course, so he tried to benefit in that sense. The race, it was behind Kimi for most of it, and then the stop-go penalty and everything, it just all went a bit wrong. So it's a bit of a shame, really. I don't think points were ever possible. But had he pitted when, you know, Gasly pitted and things like that, and when Raikkonen pitted, of course, we could have seen him up there with them. And maybe one of the Alphas could have scraped a point at that point if one played rear gunner while the other one got ahead. But sadly, I think that's where Alpha's race really came unfolded there when Giovinazzi had to serve that penalty. So yeah, a strange one for Antonio. A disappointing race. I'm putting more omen onto the driver as opposed to the team for that whole, you know, red flag. You can't come into the pit lane incident, into the pit lane because it's closed, and I get that. You know, I get it's the driver's fault at the end of the day. There's two big lights there that we all saw, and yeah, he made the mistake. So for that reason, Antonio Giovinazzi just 2 points this weekend as well. Wasn't looking like anything promising this weekend from him, but maybe, just maybe, had he not made that mistake and not made that error, we could have seen both Alfa Romeos in the points there, but wasn't to be, unfortunately. We'll see how they get on at Mugello. And then we come to Charles Leclerc. Here you go, way too fast. If you don't slow down, you're going to crash. And that's what he did. He did it at the Parabolica. He went wide. I think he caught that gutter in the runoff, you know, the drainage, and then just went straight into the wall. And thankfully he's okay. It was a big hit and caused the red flag with the massive tyre damage. With the massive damage to the tyre wall, of course, and big damage to that Ferrari. Short and sweet for Charles. Probably weren't going to score points this weekend in any normal situation, in any normal race. Maybe scraped a couple, had this crazy race had he not been involved in that part, playing his part in the crazy race. So, yeah, it was a poor weekend by Ferrari overall, really, wasn't it? I was probably going to give him a 4, to be honest with you, but then he crashed. And it was his mistake. He crashed. He's caused a lot of damage to the Ferrari, and that's not what they need at the moment. So unfortunately, Charles Leclerc is going to get a 0 this weekend. I'm feeling a bit more sympathetic towards him because it was their home race, but I can't be sympathetic towards Charles making a mess of the Ferrari and making a mess of the tyre wall. So yeah, 0 points to Charles Leclerc, and yeah, unlucky. And then we come to K-Mag, and he was the one that started all the drama. So thank you very much, K-Mag, for that. Your failure on the car at the last corner and not able to get into the pits really spiced this race up. So thank you very much. You're an absolute legend. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good race for him. And what happened in the early part of the race, I'm not quite sure. I just saw that he was down last in the timings and 30 seconds behind Latifi. So I was like, whoops, what's happened there? Did he have a pit stop? I don't know. I never saw it. It never happened. If you didn't see it, it didn't happen in Formula 1, which is why we never see Sainz most of the time. But we did this weekend. So yeah, it was a lonely race by K-Mag, but got into Q2, which was a good effort by the Haas car, knocking out Sebastian Vettel, of course. And yeah, in the race, it was very much just at the back, doing nothing. Don't know what happened in that early situation, which let him so far back the rest of the field, and then broke down and caused the drama. So for that reason, Kevin Magnussen won award him 4 points. It was a cracking qualifying effort to get a Haas into Q2. Beating, of course, Sebastian Vettel as mentioned. And then in the race, it was a very lonely race, very quiet race. I didn't really know why. Never saw anything of it. And then he caused all the drama, so he deserves a point for that. So yeah, 4 points to Kevin Magnussen. And then last but by no means least is Sebastian Vettel. After qualifying 17th and running around in 17th for the very early stages of the race, he had a brake line failure, which meant he had no brakes. And unfortunately retired early on in the race, and that was him out. So I don't blame Vettel for any of it. The car was shite, and it broke down. It wasn't his fault. But, of course, he was behind Leclerc by a few positions in the race and in qualifying as well. And short and sweet for Vettel. Poor race weekend by Ferrari once again. We knew it would come in. And, yeah, for Sebastian Vettel, it is just going to be 3 points. 3 points to Sebastian Vettel. So there you go, guys. That was the runners and riders of the Italian Grand Prix, and what a spicy one it was. The results of the Crawl Room series with the updated scores are on the screen now. And let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Do you agree with that table? I'm sure those big points scorers have switched themselves around a bit now, haven't they? They've certainly got themselves in the mix. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. As always, leave your thoughts and feedback down below on the race. I look forward to reading your comments and replying to them all as well. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and much love!